listening to FANTASM Podcast, a horror death metal podcast for the old school. Join your hosts Corey Gorechrist and Dr. Vincent West as they stuff horror movie reviews and death metal interviews all in one body bag. Listen on iTunes, subscribe on YouTube, and like on Facebook, and head over to StageDiverRadio.com for more.
Hello, this is Lizzy Borden, and you're listening to Dr. Vincent West and Corey Gorechrist on the FANTASM Podcast.
I want the flames, I want the fire, I want all that desire, I want to live in a dream about midnight things. Bring out the pain, I need the power, give me all, I give me power, so I can live in the dream about midnight things.
Hey, what's going on?
Hey, this is Lizzy. How you doing?
Good, man. This is Corey Gorechrist and Dr. Vincent West on the FANTASM Podcast. How you doing, man? This is an honor to have you.
I am doing amazing here in Las Vegas. Beautiful, sunny.
Oh, I bet it is.
Awesome.
Not rainy and shitty like it is in a lot of other places.
No, it's always sunny here.
Yeah, that's right. Well, it's seriously an honor to have you on. We're excited for the new record that drops June 15th on MetalBlade Records. It's going to be pretty sick. Some of the stuff I heard off it's pretty amazing. It's My Midnight Things. We're really excited about it, and we'll get to that here in a second. But if you don't mind, we'll do a brief history of the band, if you don't mind.
No problem.
Awesome. So just start from the top for all the youngsters out there.
Started this thing in 1983.
It's amazing.
It's basically been a solo thing. I've had different lineups throughout the whole thing.
Sure.
The only constant is Joey Scott on drums.
Right.
And we've had multiple lineups throughout the 35 years.
Sure.
Two biggest records, the Visualize album, Master of Disguise album, both were at the pinnacle of the 80s, and it was an amazing time for us.
Oh, yeah.
Part of the Decline of the Western Civilization Part 2 movie.
It's a crazy movie.
And just released a brand new album, My Midnight Things.
Yeah, and it's a fantastic record, and you were saying how it, you wanted to appeal to the younger crowd. Talk a little bit about that too, about seeing the younger fans at your shows, overseas and stuff.
Yeah, it's not that I wanted to appeal to them. When our last tour promoting the anniversary tour that we just did a few years ago, all across Europe, and we played Russia and South Korea and places like that. They all the audience was so young,
yeah,
and they were responding to certain songs out of the back catalog that we were playing, other than other songs that may have used to get a big reaction, but some of the other songs were getting even an amazing reaction. These kids were singing and going crazy for songs that were written before they were born. So that's what got me thinking, okay, well, I want to write I want to write an album that these kids could relate to, because it's now their record.
Right.
So that's what made me go in the direction that I wanted to go into, because of the songs that they were responding to in the back catalog.
It's amazing. Yeah, and if it says anything, is that Love You to Pieces came out, is it July 1st, 1985, which is the day before my birthday, 5 years before I was born. And here we are.
Yeah, and that's what that whole thing is, And I'm not really into nostalgia, so I'm always thinking forward, and always the audience dictates where I need to go.
Right.
If they respond to some songs that they responded to in the 80s, they no longer respond to, and some songs that are getting a whole new lease on life that we never even put in the set before. So it's been a love full circle fest that's been coming around, and it dictated the way my Midnight Things came out.
It's awesome.
And Lizzy, this is Dr. Vincent West. I was going to do one of our things with you we've been doing on Phantasm, where we do track by track of your new album with you. Very cool.
Okay.
Awesome. We'll start with track 1, My Midnight Things.
Well, I mean, I especially the title track. I write more in poetry form rather than storyboard form. So for this whole album, I'd written Deal with the Devil about religion. I wrote Appointment with Death about death. So this one I really wanted to find something completely away from that.
Right.
And so I wrote about love, and I wanted to see if I could bring anything unique to the table. So what I do is for every album I find my theme, and then I build my main character. And but for this song I don't like to explain what the title means, because everyone has a different aspect on what they think the title is on almost every song. But I can just, so that's especially for this song. I think when people listen to it, they have a different idea on what I'm talking about, and I like that.
Okay, cool.
Yeah, it's very strong. It's a very beautiful track. I mean, it's definitely sets the record off, and it's got a very epic, dark vibe to it. I really loved it. The opener, it's just a fantastic way to start this record.
Thank you.
And then track 2, Obsessed with You.
Obsessed with You is actually the next video that we're recording. We're actually writing the storyboard, the script for it right now.
Awesome.
And it's challenging because I wrote this song. I mean, it's obvious when you hear the title "Obsessed with You," you kind of already have preconceived notions on what I'm talking about. But I actually didn't. I purposely went out of my way so you don't know if this is a delusion or it actually was. They actually did have a connection, and now it's no longer there.
Right.
So I wanted to leave that wide open, because when you read through the lyrics, you don't know if this guy's it's all in his mind, or he actually did have a relationship, and now it's going away and slipping away. So that's I tried to leave it as wide open as possible, because it's just more interesting that way, and that's why we're struggling to write this script, because it's such an open-ended area, but it also goes right after people that are obsessed with people. Some people are delusional and they create this whole thing in their head, and then sometimes it actually is a real thing, and then it breaks apart, and then that obsession gets even stronger because you want it back. So
yeah, that's really cool. Can't wait to see the video for that as well. Track 3, Long May They Haunt Us.
Yeah, that's the most meaningful song on the album for me. I wanted, there's been so many people in my life that are gone. I had 2 guitar players that both passed away, and they were 2 of my best friends, and other people in my life as well. So I didn't think there was a song out there that celebrated that, that these people were even in your life. But that whole thing of when you're waking up thinking about these people that are no longer in your life, and I even left it as wide open to even say it's not about them dying, even just that they're no longer in your life, but you think about them every day. They haunt you, and you don't want that haunt to go away. You want it to stay with you. And
right,
that I just wanted an anthem to promote that, to salute that.
That's beautiful.
Yeah, that's awesome.
Track 4, The Scar Across My Heart.
That one, I wrote about it's kind of a Romeo and Juliet type of thing, because I wanted it to be this thing where it's such a strong thing. You feel you should be with this person, and you both believe it, but you're completely wrong for each other, and no matter how hard you try, it doesn't work. It was never meant to be, but you just keep forcing the issue, and it keeps ending up in the same way every time, like a Groundhog's Day. It just never works.
Right.
That's
really cool.
That's deep, man. That's awesome.
track 5, A Stranger to Love?
That one was one of the first songs I finished on the album, and that one is a little bit wide open story too. I mean, I've heard people interpret it many different ways, and I kind of like to leave that one wide open, because I do love the fact. I mean, when I write in like poetry form, so it does open up the doors, so it's not so direct on, you know what I'm talking about, and then you can interpret it any way you like. So that I kind of like to leave this one wide open.
Awesome, that's cool. I like that. Let's see, track 6, The Perfect Poison.
Yeah, The Perfect Poison is that is probably a little closer to what the title's about. You know, it's about this person who is just bad news for you, but when you look at them, you don't see bad news. You see the perfect person, and it's that perfect person that belongs in your life, but he or she is just so poisonous to be around, and it's killing you in a way, but you'll take it. You want it. You don't care, and you'll, you know, and you're not seeing whatever your friends are telling you. You're not seeing any of that. You're just seeing this perfect situation.
Corey and I both can relate to that.
Yeah, I was
very, very well. Track 7, Run Away With Me.
Run Away With Me is it's one of those escape things. I really wanted to write that thing because, you know, everybody wants to just go. People move. You know, I lived in Hollywood most of my life, and people ran away from their homes to run to Hollywood, and they thought that would fix their life. And it almost never fixes their life.
Right.
But I just thought it would be, I just wanted to write that song that where you do want to escape, and you think that no matter where you go, it's going to be better than where you are. Right. And you want to bring that person with you, and you're hoping that he or she will come. And you know, that was the basics for that song.
Oh, that's great. Track 8, Our Love Is God.
That's another one I like to leave wide open because there's a lot of it in there, and you know, all these songs interconnect under the Night Things theme.
Right.
And this one is definitely kicks back the storyline. And so it's I like to leave it wide open because I know like I said, I've seen so many people interpret it a completely different way than maybe even I had intended. But I'm trying to write that way anyway. So it does have a life of its own. So.
Right. Okay. That's cool. That's awesome. And then the track 9, My Midnight Things Reprise.
Yeah, that I originally wrote that version first. And
okay, nice.
of the title track, and I love to do these piano vocal things. You know, to me, it's just so fun. And when I had written that song, it felt so strong, and it had a deep, dark meaning to it. But then I started working on another version of it, which became the title track, and that had a different flavor. And I was thinking, well, this same song has become 2 different songs, even though it's the same lyrics.
Right.
And it not just because I changed it that way, just because it did take take on its own identity. And so if you hear both songs, it's just because it seems like it's 2 different songs. And I did change the melody a little bit, but it's still it's very interesting how that split personality thing happened between those 2 songs. So I wanted to bring that back in.
It's amazing. And then track 10, We Belong to the Shadows.
That was the last song that I finished for the record, and it was a song that I had written so many lyrics for. I mean, I had like 5 pages of lyrics for this song,
right.
And I had multiple different melody lines that I was going to sing. And it was forcing me, as I was singing it, forcing me into what it became. And I ended up just kind of doing the cut-up method with it. I don't know if you know, familiar with that. That's a way of writing lyrics out of context.
Okay. Right.
And I just had all these lyrics, and I just shouted out different words, and that's how I basically came up with it. And then I put it together so it would make sense, and it would carry the story along a little bit further, and actually, it's actually the finale of the record. So I really wanted that conclusion to this fantastical story and that's the way it ended.
That's amazing. And then track 11, the Long May They Haunt Us reprise.
It's the same kind of thing. It's a dark version of Long May They Haunt Us. That's actually it's actually a bonus track, actually.
Okay.
But,
I think we're getting into those.
What's that?
I think we're getting into the bonus stuff here.
Yeah. That was a bonus track, and I really and that's another split personality, because there's other musical elements to that song that as I was writing it, it came out, and I had written that after I had written the other version. I did the reverse of what I did the other way, and all these, haunting piano moments and everything came out while I was writing that, and it just kind of wrote itself. And so it was, I thought it would be cool to put on as a bonus track.
Oh, yeah, definitely. And then track 11, the Long May They Haunt Us. Or, sorry, I got it. I was reading wrong here. Sorry. Track 12, Silent Night.
Silent Night was an idea I had a few years ago. I wanted to do a Christmas song, but I couldn't just sing a happy Christmas song. So
right.
this version of Silent Night I hadn't heard before. It popped in my head, and I was playing the acoustic guitar, and it sounded so in my wheelhouse as far as where I wanted to take that song. I wanted to say something. That song's been covered so much by so many different people, and I didn't want to do the regular spin that everyone does on it. So I took it in a completely different direction, and then there was actually a second part of that song, which was a heavier version, almost like a Black Sabbath-y type of thing. Okay. But everyone loved it so much, they said, you got to turn that into a song, don't waste it on this, and then I ended up just I have a folder that I call the junkyard, and I just throw all my ideas that I don't use, and demos and different things, and then if I ever need something, I just go tooling through there and pick out a piece, pick out a chorus, or pick out a riff or whatever, and then I retool it for whatever album I'm working on. So that's the second half of that. That's where that is. But the way you hear it is the way I wrote it. And I had Dario Lorena play the acoustic guitar on it, and he actually played the keyboards on it as well.
Excellent.
Guitar player for Black Label.
Nice. And then track 13, I guess, the Waiting in the Wings 2018.
Yeah, that was a friend of mine, Eddie Bravo, who's a jiu-jitsu expert, good friends with, he's on all the Joe Rogan podcasts and everything.
Okay.
And he's a big Lizzy Borden fan. Him and Danny Loyner of 9 Inch Nails, they picked out a song of mine from the Master of Disguise album called Waiting in the Wings, and retooled it and redid it. And then he called me up and said, "Man, you got to hear what we did, and come on down to the studio." And they had a place in North Hollywood in the hills, and I came up there and I heard it and I was blown away by it. And they said, they stuck a mic in front of my face, and I said, "Sing it." And so I did, and the way you hear it is the way I sang it that day. I wasn't prepared for it. The first time I ever heard it, we've never played that song live in any form. So I hadn't sung it since the day that I sung it in 1989. So
That's
it
awesome.
was pretty unique, but very interesting, and a very different, unique take on a Lizzy Borden song. Once we did that demo, that song, I realized, it's got to be on. I really want to put this as a bonus track. So,
well, it's really cool. It's a nice, fun track, and it's cool to get to go do something like that's older and re-record it and do it in a different way. I think it's really interesting.
Yeah, it was really fun, and for me, very because I just came in there and just did it and didn't think about it. But after I listened back to it, I really liked what they were trying to, especially Eddie was so passionate about it that I didn't want to let him down. I really wanted to do my best. And people hear my voice on that, they go, "It sounds like you sang it in the '80s." It sounds,
right.
So that's a nice little bonus that I still can sing the way I always sang.
Yeah, it's great, man. Like I said, I'm blown away by the record. I love the cover art. I thought that was really interesting. Production's amazing. You're an amazing talent. I'm so glad to have you back putting records out. I'm a huge fan. I'm older than Corey, so I've grown up listening to you. But something I wanted to ask you, something else we do on this podcast, and I've always wanted to ask you this if I ever got the chance to. So are you a horror fan at all?
Oh, yeah, of course.
Your first horror movie you saw, and then your first horror movie that you just fell in love with. I mean, it could be the same one, but...
Well, the first, I would say it's more gothic. It was a Hammer Films, one with Christopher Lee, and he played a vampire. I know he did a whole bunch of those, but I can't remember the first one. I know that I was very, very young, and my friend's mom just took us to the theater and threw us in there while she went shopping, and we couldn't have been more than 10, and
Nice.
We were too afraid to run out and too afraid to sit there, and I remember just been frozen there for so long and watching it. But it really, as I got through it, it was like almost like, okay, well, I did that. I got through that. It was like I'm a badge of honor, I did that. And so that was like my first take on something that over the top for a 10-year-old. And then, and what was the second part of that?
Your favorite horror film?
Oh God! You know what? I don't have even a favorite food. I really opened
Maybe
it up
a couple of favorite horror films?
What's that?
A couple of favorite horror films?
Yeah, I mean, I love Evil Dead. I love The Exorcist was another early movie that just terrified me at that time. Terrified that actually, I lived in the San Fernando Valley at that time, and the whole San Fernando Valley, at least in my area, were terrified. It just kind of it paralyzed the whole city. It was such a movie that had such power. And especially during that time, so and no one had ever seen anything like that. That was more real. It was more real than it was fantasy. So that it just terrified everybody.
It's very horrific.
Yeah, I love. I mean, in the early '80s, part of my stage show was a lot of the influences from Nightmare on Elm Street and Halloween and Friday the 13th and all those great movies. And then MetalBlade used to have horror parties, and they would put on the lowest grade horror movies that were actually genius, like Dr. Butcher and I Spit on Your Grave, and all these really low budget films, but they had an art and a beauty to them that was unlike any other kind of very low priced movie, and we all used to watch it just going, wow, this is powerful, and the effects are terrible, but it's amazing, it's still amazing.
Now, would you guys dress up for the parties? Like you would have straight up just balls to the wall Halloween parties? Or the horror parties? For the horror parties, would you all dress up and stuff, or some people would?
No, I mean, it was us and Armored Saint and Bitch and all the MetalBlade roster at that time.
That's amazing.
Yeah, we would all just hang out and watch these movies, and and it would just be hysterical because it was at that time no one had seen anything like that before, so it was all unique to us. We were. It was all unique, and we were all experiencing it at the same time, so it was really cool.
That's amazing. And get back with the new record and everything. Are you planning some tour plans? Anything like that you'd like to talk about? Or
yeah, I mean, I'm working on the production right now. I wanted the album to come out first because I'm going to play this album live, or at least most of it.
Amazing.
So I wanted the album to come out first, but I'm working on the production right now, and it's going to be the Midnight Things theme throughout the whole thing, and it's going to be maybe the biggest production we've ever done, just based on technology. We're able to feasibly use things throughout every city, and stuff we couldn't do before, and now we can. And so I'm working with different people on the visuals and the theatrics and all the stuff that we plan on doing on this tour. And then as soon as we get that, then I'll get a lineup together, and then we'll start booking a world tour.
It's amazing. It's so I can't wait to see that. I love the new album. It's be so exciting to see it out again.
11 years from Appointment from Death, which is, love that record too. This is really awesome that you're, back in full swing, and, we're all looking forward to what's to come with Lizzy Borden.
Thank you. Yeah, I mean, so far this has been the most positive record I've ever had. It's every record I've ever had has always had mixed reviews, and this one's getting 10 out of 10, 5 out of 5, and it's doing things that I've never had done before on any Lizzy Borden record. So right. I'm blown away by that, and that's why I can't wait to get this show together and get it on the road.
You picked a phenomenal time to come back, my friend. It's so welcome, and it's been an absolute honor having you on today, and this is just amazing. And thank you for your time and going track by track with us and spending a little time with us talking about horror with us. We appreciate it.
Hey, no problem. It was great talking to you.
This is awesome. I've listened to you for years. This is an absolute pleasure. Thank you for doing this. Thank you for your time. And we'll catch you somewhere out on the road. This is fucking amazing. Thank you for your time tonight.
No problem, man. Thank you, guys. It's been a blast.
Awesome.
I'll see you out there on the road. Hello, all my Midnight Things out there. This is Lizzy Borden, and you're listening to the FANTASM Podcast.
Listening to FANTASM Podcast on State Diver Radio. And remember, stay gory.